You are listening to the Curtis King Podcast. Music producers, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Curtis King Podcast. Before we get started, let me acknowledge the obvious elephant in the room. Yes, I know there's a picture of myself behind me, and I'm getting ready to read a passage from my own book. I got to acknowledge this because I talked to Ray, and he was like, man, you should read something from your own book. But I'm always so self-conscious of being too self-centered around everything me. But I got to acknowledge the elephant in the room. How you doing, by the way? Thank you for joining me. I hope you've been enjoying the last few weeks of having a guest here. If this is your first time actually listening and you're listening from the Apple Podcast app, or you're listening to Spotify podcast, wherever you are, please take a second to subscribe. In addition to that, leave a rating. Let folks know what you feel. If you like it, if you love it, 5-star it. If you hate it, you do what you need to do. You know, you can 5-star it and still hate something with your Yelp ass. You can still do that if you want. This ain't about you. This is about us building something special. But man, thank you for joining me. Much love to everybody here who has been tuning in on YouTube as well. If you're on the YouTube and you're watching this, please subscribe to the channel. It's funny because I was on a live stream the other day, and this is something that I told her. I said, this is my least favorite part of doing this kind of stuff. I really don't like the, hey guys, smash the like button if you show some love. Maybe one of you, I just don't like it. I end up using that voice because that's the YouTube guy. Hey guys, whatever you do, don't forget to smash that like button. Smash. Like I heard smash that like button on a video explaining the dangers of the coronavirus, like things you should look out. And they were like, before I get into this coronavirus video, please smash the like button. I was like, people are dying, fam. They want to get information. They ain't trying to smash your like button. They're trying to live. But I digress. I'm reading from chapter 10 of my book, The Prosperous Hip Hop Producer. If you didn't know I have a book, go to musicproducerbook.com. This explains my journey of going from my grandmother's patio, making beats on a PlayStation, into building a 6-figure business known as CurtisKingBeats.com. So, the chapter that I'm reading from is called Mix the Beat. I use a quote in the beginning. It says, it's good if you hear everything. It's great if you can see everything. It's perfect if you can feel everything. And that was from THX because I asked him his particular approach to mixing. That was the quote that he gave me for the book. So shout out to him. One of my favorite producers, and in my opinion, one of the best producers of all time. Check him out, THX. Go do your research. By far, the most common questions I receive from young music producers deal with the art of mixing. Some producers approach me confused about what constitutes a great mix, and others are completely overthinking the process and repeatedly butchering their final beat. Technically, mixing a beat is manipulating the volume and texture of each sound to create a more cohesive final product. Mixing to me has always been my chance to create or to clearly translate the ideas of my often chaotic sound selection, arrangements to my audience without overwhelming them with what amounts to a pile of noise. Mixing for me is much like taking a picture on my cell phone and running it through multiple filters, edits, until the viewer can see what I see. Or in the case of mixing a beat, it is my goal for my listener not only to hear what I am hearing, but as THX pointed out, to feel what I am feeling. Mixing hasn't always been an easy journey for me. I have learned a lot thanks to my mentors and by making many personal errors over the years. As a matter of fact, I am still learning more and more about mixing. The older I get, the more I learn, the more I understand why producer Dr. Dre notoriously spent so many years tweaking his music before he released it. The old adage is true. The more you know, the more you owe. The more I have learned about mixing, the more energy I have wanted to give to the process. I don't think I'll ever stop learning, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So in this chapter, I talk about the biggest sort of growth moments that I had when it came to mixing, because I understand where producers are coming from when they come to me and they're like, Curtis, man, teach me mixing. How do you learn mixing? Where is there a mixing course that is specific to the kind of music that I want to make? All the producers that I want to sound like, or I want my sound to be as big as, they don't have tutorials because they're too busy making the music that I want to learn how to make, damn it. And so it becomes a challenging game because you end up learning from people that may or may not know how to exactly get that sound, but they can pull you at least a little bit closer. And so producers get in a place where they're either very, very on the outside of things. Our producers get so much in the inside of mixing that they are looking around like, okay, I went too deep down the rabbit hole. Where am I at? I learned from this tutorial that I got to add a sidechain compression to my kick and my 808, but then I learned from this other producer who only uses sausage fattener, and I'm trying to figure out how to put that in within my mix, but then Waves just released our bass, and I'm trying to figure out how to tweak that to my liking. Oh, but I was watching Pensado Place, and he don't really use the same stuff as I do, but I like what he talks about. And you mixing all these different techniques. You seen Mixed by Ali on Twitter. He said, producers should pay attention to silence more than anything else. You're seeing all these different people who are giving you great information. This is not to discredit any of their information. Their information is valid. Their information is real. But here's the thing that often gets overlooked when you're in a pursuit or you're having a thirst for information and knowledge. They can only give you the perspective that they have that works for what they do. Their music is their music, and it sounds that way because of the decision that they make. They're not making decisions that are based upon, well, this producer says that you can't sidechain that way, or this producer says you never want to EQ this way or push this knob up, or you want to cancel out all the high frequencies within an 808. Every producer has a different approach to achieve their own sound. And the way that they got there obviously was probably through a little bit of the process that you're doing right now, which is scouring the internet and getting as much knowledge as you can. But most of them get this information from trial and error. And most of them get to a place where they realize you always end up going more complex than you need to go, more detailed than you need to go in the beginning, just so that you can pull back and come back and say, wait a minute, I've been going about this all wrong. This information that I learned was good. It planted the right seeds, but I need to pull back all the way back just to realize all I had to do was just put a soft clip on the master to get what I was trying to get. That's been my particular journey, is that I'd go very complex into figuring out what is mixing, what is mastering exactly, how do I do it, but there's websites like Lander out here who make the mastering process literally the click of a button. And I'll be doing a tutorial about Lander in a very, 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 very soon because they reached out to me about a collaboration. But man, it's so much easier now when you approach it from the standpoint of, I don't have to learn everything. I don't have to put everybody's advice into action. And when you look at all this information for what it is, this is just somebody giving you a glimpse into what they do. Everything is not law. I used to go about everything as if it was law. If somebody gave me their tips and their rules, I would think of that as, oh, this producer that I look up to says never do this kind of a band cutoff. You never do it in this frequency. 808 should never fall below 30 on the bass decibels or the bass frequencies. They should never fall below 30 hertz, I believe it is. And you follow these rules and you realize every track calls for something different. And on top of that, your beats call for something different because you're going to bring something to the market that none of us would have ever expected to be the next sound. And we'll either have a choice to adjust to what you brought to the market and shift what we're doing so that it's more up to date, or we're having an opportunity to completely ignore it and say it's not for us. But at the end of the day, there really is no rules of this. Right? And if you do follow rules, just follow the rules in order to understand why they are what they are, but have them with the intentions of eventually breaking them, even your own rules. I think that's what keeps music exciting. That's what keeps music fun, is to finally develop a structure, finally develop a system, just to at some point in time challenge it and break it down and rebuild it again. I think that's what keeps this whole experience of making music fresh. I think that's what makes music feel so much of an exciting journey, because if you get to a place where you've been in this for 40 something, 20, 30 years and you feel like you did everything, it may not be as fun as it has been. Even if you're like 4 or 5 years into it, right? There's some things that you're probably doing, you've been doing for the last 3 years, and you have not challenged yourself on, because that is what gets a reaction from people. That is what people gravitate towards what you're doing. And I'm not telling you to abandon your bread and butter. I'm just saying sometimes you want to try some new bread, right? Sometimes you want to try some new butter. Sometimes you just want to just add a little slivet. Get your butter knife and add a little slivet or something in there. Mix it up. You making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, fam? That's what's up. Try some almond butter. It's better for you. Just try it. See what it is. If it ain't for you, it's not for you. But you should always be in a place where you set up your foundation for constant evolution. I think that's so important, and it all applies to mixing. With mixing, do not lose sight of the fact that we are all audio nerds. From the producers that are sitting there and they're like, okay, so I have to take the decibel and the frequency here to the modulator to the parametric equalizer. From that guy to the guy that's got tattoos on his face and he like, look at here, shout, what was gonna happen is I'm gonna add this sausage fat and I'm gonna add this free. We all audio nerds no matter what we look like. I know the term nerd is probably pissing some people off right now, but we all are audio nerds. Think about what we do. We take a second of sound and turn it into a melody. Or we pump up a second of a kick and give it so much attention to detail that it becomes a kick that we feel in our chest when they're playing through big speakers, right? We take an 808 and we shorten it and we tighten it up and we change the shaping on it, and then we change the hole and the decay and the attack, and we create this thing that we love out of a one shot through an 808. But we're all audio nerds. So keep this in mind. If you're an audio nerd, your only responsibility within mixing, within mastering, your only responsibilities are, one, to make it sound good, according to your ears and what your interpretation of good is. You're only just bringing sounds together and making them mesh the best to your ability, in your opinion. Because I'm pretty sure whoever did a mix on SlapX's Look At Me, their idea of what a great mixture of sounds is a lot different from an engineer, say, 15, 20 years ago that have been like, everything is clipping. Even Bad and Bougie, number one song in the country some time ago. But when it was, I remember an engineer, that a really respected engineer in LA, who was like, I ran it through my program and I saw that it was over like 200 or 300 clippings in the song. And although that may not be technically sound for engineers, the people that music is for, the folks that's in the club, the folks that's driving in their car, there ain't nobody ever in the history who got a car that got hella sounds, hella bass, drove and stopped their car from beating. Like the song is just going crazy. It just sounds like a bunch of rattling on the outside of the car. Ain't nobody in the history of bumping their music out their car stopped it and said, do you think I should continue to play this song? What you mean? It was banging. I feel a clipping. I hear a clipping in this. Nobody in the history of banging music out of speakers like that, out of some Pioneers or whatever I ain't got no sounds in my car. I got stock sounds in my car. But ain't nobody in the history that I've been in a car with ever said, I think we should hold off on the volume a little bit because there's a lot of clipping that is happening. They don't care. They don't care. Because people interpret music. People, when they're listening and enjoying music, it's an emotional experience. Whether they're working out, whether it's music they study to, whether it's music that they're playing while they're with, they're on a date or they're with their loved one. It's an emotional experience. It's not such a scientific experience. This is an emotional one. Make sure you take that scientist out of mixing when it's not a necessity. Make sure that when a scientist goes in there and starts to get all the edges and make sure that things are perfectly well-rounded and things are perfectly placed, make sure they don't take the life out of the sound. Same thing when you're sitting there making beats and you're putting snares early and snares late. Don't take the damn life out the beat trying to put it all on the grid because somebody told you that, bro, I was looking at your piano roll and everything it wasn't the grid, man. Keep it clean. Don't listen to that. You're going to take the damn life out of that. So that's what I wanted to talk about first and foremost. I want to talk about a few different topics today in today's podcast. First, I want to start off with the fact that my company, with my brother, oh gosh, Leota, SlapXperts, just released a new sound pack called SlapX. Now, I'm not going to use this time to sit up here and do an ad. I've had many of ads that have already been on the channel. Excuse me, let me take a sip of my coffee. Shout out to Bulletproof Coffee, in case y'all ever want to sponsor what we got going on here. Anyways, my brother, oh gosh, and I, when we started off on this journey of SlapX, I am so glad that he has a personality type that's like, yo, F it, let's do it. Let's try it out. Let's see what works. Let's see what goes. And the fact that I'm able now to be in a position of taking all of my knowledge, all the things that I failed at with Curtis King Beats, all the things that I failed at earlier in my career, I can use that experience now and create a new entity, right? Create social media for a new platform that people don't know what to expect. It's almost like I get to rebrand myself without anybody even knowing that I'm involved in it. People know that I'm involved, obviously, but a lot of people come to SlapX because they've heard other people's beats who use the sounds. So, SlapX, man, we worked on this for about 3 months. In and out of doing the free packs, we had this pack already in mind as the first official pack for purchase for sale. And the response so far has been freaking amazing. I'm thankful for all of my journey that led me here, specifically going to Atlanta and talking to Steven and Drew, who, by the way, released Dreams. I know they had a limited amount of licenses, so by the time this is out, maybe you got access, maybe you don't. But if you do, you know the value that those guys bring, so congratulations to them. But they're the reason why I got into sound designing as a business, as the next pivot, as the next journey in my next step in my journey. And it has brought me to a place where I'm at so much peace with doing this kind of work. There is no pressure on me. I feel like Mario with the star when he was knocking down mushrooms and he was ignoring Yoshi. I got this, fam. I don't need you. I feel like that kind of Mario right now. Because as I jump through all of these loops, as we come through setbacks that are inevitable to happen, I don't react to them in the same way. So even with SlapX, when you're bringing together, so it's, oh gosh, myself as the founders, it's my brother Nabian as a contributor, my brother Aaron Barber, who's I believe is based in Arizona, YLM, who's based in the UK. When you're getting all these, and the homie Nicholas Gray, who's based close to here, but when you got all these different producers and personalities coming together, you never know what's going to actually happen. You're building a team right now. You don't know what's going to happen until the work and the shit hits the fan. And I got to tell you, I'm grateful to have spent years with my brother Nabi and Ogash and Nicholas Gray before we've done business, because I know the way they do business. Same thing with YLM, the guitar player, and Aaron Barber, who makes these amazing melodic packs. I spent months and months with them really doing some mentorship within the Curtis King University, and they were two standouts that I was like, you know what, if I ever created a business and there was an opportunity for me to include them, there's no doubt in my mind I would include them because of their attitude. And that's the thing about it. A lot of people have been reaching out to me after SlapX, like, are you guys hiring? Man, how can I get down? If you don't know my personality by now, you should know this. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how talented you are, how great you are, how great your loops are, how amazing you are. Your amazing talent, yes, that can be monetized and could be more money for our company, means diddly squat to me if you are a pain in the ass to work with. If you are a headache, you're going to cost us money even after you've made money. And even if we break even based upon the money that you have cost us because of your negligence, because of you not getting stuff on time, or you doing things that set us back, it becomes more of a headache than it becomes a benefit to what we got going on. So for those of you asking, are we hiring? No, I'll come find you. I'll come find you. Don't send me no loops. Because I don't want to hear nobody talking about, hey, fam, I was going through SlapX and I seen that you had a melodic loop that was in C minor. It's the same one as mine, bro, because mine was in C, not C minor, but it was the same thing. Y'all be reaching. Y'all be looking for a reason. Like I remember I was on a live stream for Instagram, and some fool came in there talking about I'm playing the snares. I got a smile on my face. Maybe that's what he didn't like, was a smile on my face, how excited I was about learning audio synthesis, sound synthesis, and how I love creating sounds from scratch using plugins like Kick 2 and the pre-computed effects on FL Studio. But he was like, I've heard some of these snares before. I was like, if you don't shut that shit, you ain't heard none of these snares. Don't you disrespect me like that? You ain't heard none of these snares. Now, maybe some of them packs that you got some recycled sounds, but not I, said to Curtis. Not I have any recycled sounds in here. We take much pride in original music, much pride in royalty-free music, so you better believe ain't no recycled sounds in here, not from what we are doing. So, that being said, it has been a very enjoyable experience to work with Oh Gosh, to work with the squad and put all these stuff together. But no, we're not hiring. If anything, you build something of your own, man. You got this. It's on you. You got all the stuff you need. You got the internet. You got the opportunity to do what you need to do. And that kind of leads me to the last topic that I want to talk about as we end this podcast. We're not ending it right now. We're actually going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors. But the last topic I want to talk about is why I feel like you don't need to go out seeking advice on a regular basis. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's get a word from our sponsors. Our first official sponsor, DistroKid. Music producers. Something I talk about pretty frequently is the necessity of having multiple streams of revenue as an independent music producer. Not only for when you're actually producing, but what about those days after you stop producing? You got to make sure that you have streams of revenue that are going to live on even further than your current career. That being said, one stream of revenue that I think gets often overlooked is music distribution, aka streaming. Getting your music on Apple Music, getting your music on Spotify, etc., etc. Now, the number one spot that I go to make sure that I distribute my music properly and ensure that I get my music to every store possible is DistroKid at distrokid.com. I know you've heard me speak about it multiple times on my YouTube channel, but I gotta tell you, there's a reason why it's the number one that I go to. For $19.99 per year, I can upload an unlimited amount of music throughout the year. As producers, you know we make an abnormal amount of music in comparison to songs that get created, so it's important that you use this as a consistent stream of income. If you'd like to sign up to DistroKid today and get your music to every major distributor, go to distrokid.com/VIP/Curtis King to get 7% off. Okay, music producers, so the last topic that I want to talk about is the necessity of advice. And this might sound contradictory because of who I am and because of who you have been introduced to, because I have been known to give so much advice and so much quote unquote game out there for music producers. This may sound like me telling you not to listen to me or listen to my videos or whatever the case, but you could take it however you want to take it. Here's the biggest thing that I want to say. So I made a post on my Instagram that spoke specifically to producers that are tagging me in their post, not because they're using SlapX's kits and they want to show me what they did with it, because I have no problem at all with that. You support us with that kind, man, I'm all for it. I'm gonna show you love back, and I'm gonna go, give you a 100 emoji or a muscle emoji. I mean, working out. I'm gonna give you all kind of love. That's not a problem. My problem is, you are selling a product. You're selling a beat, okay? You're selling a beat, and how do I know you're selling the beat? Because you're tagging me in a post with, it'll be like Curtis King, at Simon Savita, at Kyle Beats, at DJ Payne 1. You're tagging all of us in the same post of you just making a beat. You're making a beat, and it has a BeatStars link, and it has a BeatStars hashtag, and it says selling beats and type beats in your hashtag, and you're including us as a tag. Now, the obvious thing for us to first see is that you want to share your music with us. I get that. I understand that. But I think an important question that producers need to ask, because some people say, well, maybe they just want some advice on their beat and, they want to hear what you got going on. An important question to ask before the advice topic is, when you're putting up social media, the first question that you need to ask before you put it out, who is this message for? When you put the time in to make a beat visualizer, right? Because it take a long time sometimes for these slow computers to export these stuff out, right? Branding it, figuring out what colors you want to use. This stuff takes time. And originally, beat visualizers and, having an artist picture, that is meant to get the attention of an artist who wants to buy beats. Yet you're only tagging other producers in your post, and they have nothing to do with that post at all. You know what that's like? I'm going to give you two examples. I'm going to give you a G-rated version of it, and I'm going to give you an X-rated version of it. The G-rated version of what that is a cow standing next to another cow and saying, "Moo, hey homie, you want some milk for free? You want to sample my milk?" Ray laughing. And the cow's like, "Huh? What you mean sample your milk, fam? I make milk. I want to sample your milk." Man, I'm just starting to lactate, and I just want to see if this is the G version, so you can imagine how bad the other one will be. I'm just lactating, man. I just want to see if my milk matches up to the other cows out here. Bro, if you don't go and just if you don't just go and just make your milk, that's what y'all sound like coming to other producers asking them to give you advice on your sound. Asking other producers to come in here and taste your milk. That's all bad. Asking them to taste your milk, bro. I don't want it. I don't want your cow nipple, bro. Do you, man? Like this, we producing the same thing. Even worse is saying, "Hey, other cow, would you like to buy my milk?" As milk is literally leaking out of the nipples of that other cow. You're asking him to buy your milk? No. So I don't get why you're posting other cows, producers, just lactate. Stop worrying about forcing advice, forcing teaching, forcing somebody to watch your growth. They are not entitled to watch your growth. The only person responsible for your growth is you. And the most growth that you're going to experience is not going to happen from another producer telling you something that you didn't already know about what you got going on there, or that you weren't going to already figure out just by putting in the work. Because even with the advice that you're given, you're still going to have to put in the work. If I listen to your beat and I say, "Man, it's dope, but the 808's out of tune," you would have figured that out in the next 6 to 8 months, I'm sure. Because I wouldn't have been the only one telling you that. And plus, you would have been sitting there saying, "Something feels wrong about this." But it's going to come with the process. You just got to spend time with it. Spend time with the people that you are learning from. They're giving tutorials to you with the intention of learning from them. And so, for those of you out there that do this, stop it. Stop it, fam. Stop. Last thing we need is for other cows to be asking other cows if they want to test their milk. The other version, how about the X-rated version, all right? Because we're getting towards the end of this podcast. The X-rated version is this. It's like going on a really dark street and seeing a lady of the night, a.k.a. a prostitute, walking around in her little skimpy clothes. And instead of looking in the street where all the Johns, you know them Johns that be driving around looking for a prostitute, instead of talking to them, which represents their income and their business, they look at another prostitute and say, hey, girl, you want some of this? And she says, "What? I'm in the same business as you. Why are we talking to each other right now when we gotta find these Johns out here?" I'm sorry, rappers, for comparing you to Johns if you're watching this, but you get my example. Y'all over here as prostitutes asking other prostitutes for sex, and it don't make no sense to me. That's the X-rated version, but that's where I'm gonna end this right now, okay? You don't need advice. What you need to do is put the work in. What you need to do is seek out the specific help that you need, because if somebody gives you something to focus on and that's not your sound, if I tell you right now, I don't like the way your 808s and snares sound like, that's me and my biased ears. My one pair of ears, I only have one pair of ears like everybody else. My biased ears, though they are padded with experience, is still biased compared to what you may like. What if what you're making is something I have no grasp on? What if you're the future and I'm sitting up here in the past as a dinosaur with my ears, as a boomer with my ears, and you're telling me to give you critiques on your beats and I don't know none of your favorite producers, or I don't like the music of none of your favorite producers? I'm not the only one that's like that. There's a lot of producers who like what they like, but your beats may be super weird to other producers right now, but one day it may be the wave of the future. One day it may be something that people are like, "Yo, how do I get that sound?" And it's not going to be like you're going to tell them, yo, it's because of I went to this one person. No, it's going to be because of those hours and hours that you put in. 10,000 hours is not about 10,000 hours on your phone, half-assing your music production. It's about 10,000 focused hours. So that means that you may end up spending 30,000 hours within a studio just to achieve those 10,000 focused hours. So put the time in, put the work in. And stop hounding people or stop forcing them to be your mentors, forcing them to listen to your music. Because no amount of advice is going to be more beneficial than what you're going to learn from experience. Thank you for watching today's podcast. Thank you for supporting this podcast. If I said something that rubbed you the wrong way, feel free to express yourself in the comments. Because I have one perspective. Maybe there's something I haven't seen, another perspective I need to see. Maybe there's something that you have seen that's benefit from advice. But at the end of the day, I'm a stubborn ass bull and I'm probably going to be stuck to my own point of view. But I want to be open to what you got going on there too. But I think a lot of folks get the wrong ideas. Stop. I don't want your milk. That's my last words. In this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Once again, it's Curtis King of SlapXperts.com. Have a good one. Yeah.